She has no talent whatsoever. She just inherited Elliot's dreamer mentality. Mom's voice sliced through the air of Garrett's luxurious home office. Her face contorted with disdain as she spoke into her laptop during a video call. I froze in the hallway, my small hand clutching my latest architectural model made from popsicle sticks. At 5 years old, I already understood I wasn't meant to hear this conversation. My heart pounded against my chest as I listened, the colorful blocks of my creation suddenly feeling heavy in my hands. Garrett, my stepfather, sighed heavily, his platinum watch catching the light from the designer lamp. She's just a child, Vivian. Children have imaginations. Not like April, Mom insisted, massaging her temples in frustration. Can't you do anything right? She'd snap whenever I showed her my miniature buildings or drawings of dream houses. Her words cut deeper than any physical wound, leaving invisible scars that never seemed to heal. My real dad, Elliot, was completely different. He lived in a modest house with a woodworking studio attached across town. Mom had left him when I was barely walking, trading him for Garrett with his thick wallet and luxury cars. Dad might not have had money, but when I showed him my building designs or told him about my dream houses, his eyes would light up with genuine pride. You've got a special eye for design, April, he'd tell me, gently touching my shoulder. Never let anyone dim that light inside you. Life at Mom and Garrett's mansion grew increasingly tense as I started school. Mom obsessed over appearances, designer clothes, exclusive friends, and perfect social media posts tagged with #perfect family. Why can't you be more like the Henderson girl? Mom would criticize, showing me social media photos of classmates at parties where I wasn't welcome. One rainy afternoon, after she berated me for tracking mud on her imported marble floors, I snapped, at least Dad appreciates creativity instead of just cleanliness. The slap came lightning fast, her manicured hand stinging my cheek before I could even flinch. Don't you dare compare that dreamer to Garrett, she hissed, her face inches from mine, breath heavy with expensive coffee and bitter resentment. That night, curled up with my architecture book from Dad, I silently vowed that someday I'd design my own perfect space where no one could hurt me. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. When Mom announced she was pregnant, the atmosphere in the sprawling house shifted dramatically. Everything suddenly revolved around her and Garrett's precious baby. I'm finally having a child with the man I truly love, Mom declared one evening, caressing her belly as Garrett beamed like he'd secured a multi-million-dollar property deal. This baby will be absolutely perfect. Garrett nodded enthusiastically. We'll need to renovate the East Wing bedroom suite. Nothing but the best for our little princess. My stomach twisted into knots. What about my room? I asked, struggling to keep my voice from trembling. Mom's smile tightened like a vice. You'll move into that small room by the laundry, April. Your presence disrupts the aesthetic of this wing anyway. It's only fair the baby will need a proper nursery. Fair. The word hung in the air like a death sentence, no discussion, no compromise. So I packed up my building models and sketches, relocating to what was essentially a glorified closet, where the rumble of the washing machine became my constant companion. Soon Carissa was born, instantly becoming the center of Mom's carefully curated universe. Have you ever seen such a gorgeous baby? Mom would gush to her social media followers, cradling Carissa like she was made of the finest crystal, staging perfect family photos that conveniently excluded me. She's cute, I'd mutter, desperately trying to find some place in this new family dynamic. I genuinely wanted to be a good big sister. One afternoon, while Mom was busy updating her social media with Carissa's milestones, I quietly entered the lavishly decorated nursery. I peered into the custom-designed crib at my baby sister who was cooing happily. Hey there, Carissa, I whispered, extending my finger toward her tiny hand. Mom appeared in the doorway, her expression thunderous. What are you doing in here, April? I told you never to enter without permission. Your dreariness doesn't belong in this space. I only wanted to see her, I protested, fighting back tears that threatened to betray my hurt. Dad was my sanctuary. During weekend visits at his workshop, surrounded by the comforting smell of sawdust, I'd confide in him over pizza. She treats me like I'm contaminating Carissa somehow, like I'm not good enough to be near her. Dad's weathered hands paused on his current furniture piece. Some people have hearts that can only love selectively, April. They believe love is finite, something to be rationed. But that's not true. Your capacity for care and creativity, that's something special. Don't let her make you believe otherwise. One day I returned home clutching a prestigious award from the city's architectural design competition for students. I'd won second place for my Sustainable Community Center model, a project I'd spent countless nights perfecting, my fingers raw from cutting materials and assembling intricate details. My heart raced with excitement as I carefully carried my certificate and the small crystal trophy through the front door. "Mom! Look what I won at the design competition," I exclaimed, my voice trembling with pride as I held out my achievements. The judges had praised my extraordinary spatial awareness and environmental consciousness, words I'd memorized, treasuring each syllable. Vivian barely glanced up from where she sat on the imported Italian sofa, helping Carissa with her kindergarten coloring book. My half-sister's scribbles received lavish praise for their artistic genius. "That's nice, April," Mom muttered dismissively, her attention fixed on Carissa's purple scrawls. "Put it somewhere. Maybe that shelf in your room or whatever." Or whatever, I whispered to myself, the victory that had felt so monumental just minutes ago now shrinking to insignificance in the grand mansion that never truly felt like home. I retreated to my tiny room, placing the trophy on my crowded desk beside my miniature building designs. It gleamed in the afternoon light, a solitary celebration of an achievement that would go unacknowledged in this household. Later, I sent a photo to Dad, who immediately called, his voice warm with genuine pride that made my eyes sting with grateful tears. By high school, the atmosphere at home had become suffocating. Between Mom's calculated coldness and Garrett's businesslike indifference, I existed as more of an inconvenient houseguest than family. I threw myself into my architectural studies, spending every possible moment in the art room creating elaborate designs that teachers praised but family ignored. Then came the bombshell that would reshape my entire life, elegantly packaged in Mom's typical calculating manner. We were having dinner one evening, just Mom and me at the massive dining table. Garrett was working late closing a property deal, and Carissa was at a friend's house for a sleepover. "April, we need to discuss your future living arrangements," Mom began, meticulously cutting her organic salmon into perfect squares. Her voice carried that familiar clinical tone that always preceded unwelcome news. The chandelier light caught her diamond earrings, sending prisms dancing across the wall. "What about them?" I asked, trying to maintain composure though my pulse immediately quickened. "Garrett and I have been discussing our family's image moving forward. With Carissa's modeling career taking off and our social commitments increasing, we believe it would be more appropriate for you to live with Elliot permanently." She didn't even look at me as she delivered this life-altering decision. I nearly choked on my water, the crystal glass almost slipping from my fingers. "Move in with Dad? Just like that? Why now?" The question caught in my throat. Mom sighed dramatically, as if my questions were an exhausting imposition. "Look, April, your presence disrupts the aesthetic we're cultivating for our social media presence. Frankly, your ordinary appearance and constant architectural clutter doesn't align with the image we're building. Carissa's career requires a certain visual consistency in our home environment." The truth hit me like a physical blow. I was being erased from their picture-perfect life because I didn't fit the carefully curated image. My hands trembled beneath the table. "So I'm being kicked out because I don't look good in your social media posts?" I struggled to keep my voice steady. Mom's lips tightened. "Don't be dramatic. You'll have more space for your little models at Elliot's anyway. We've already discussed it with him. The arrangements are made." I pushed away my barely touched food. "And what about my school? My few friends?" "You'll attend the public school in Elliot's district. You can make new connections," she said with a dismissive wave, as if relocating a teenager was as simple as rearranging furniture. "This is happening, April. The sooner you accept it, the easier the transition will be." The following weeks passed in a haze of packing and disbelief. I carefully wrapped each architectural model, each design sketch, watching my existence in the mansion shrink into cardboard boxes, my dreams and aspirations reduced to items to be relocated. Garrett barely acknowledged my departure, merely nodding when we passed in hallways. Carissa, 8 years old and already mimicking our mother's mannerisms, gave me a perfunctory hug before returning to her tablet. Moving day arrived with merciful speed. Dad waited for me outside his modest craftsman-style home, a warm, worried smile creasing his weathered face. His workshop stood adjacent to the house, the scent of sawdust and varnish hanging in the air, an honest smell that contrasted sharply with the artificial perfection of Mom's world. "Welcome home, April," he said, embracing me as I stepped from the car. His arms felt solid and real, his woodworker's hands gentle despite their strength. Dad's home was nothing like the cold mansion I'd grown up in. My new room was half the size of my former closet-like space, with walls that needed fresh paint and a window that overlooked his workshop. But something about it felt immediately different. Perhaps it was the bookshelf he'd handcrafted specifically for my architectural books, or the large desk by the window he'd built for my designs. "I know it's not what you're used to," he said hesitantly as we carried in the last box. "But I hoped you might like having a space designed for what you love." For the first time in weeks, I felt tears welling up, not from rejection, but from being seen. The first day at Jefferson High was every bit as difficult as I'd feared. As I navigated the crowded hallways, eyes followed me, whispers trailing in my wake. "That's the new girl, heard she got kicked out of her rich mom's house," they murmured, rumors already somehow preceding me. In classes, I retreated into myself, sketching building designs in my notebook margins rather than attempting to engage. My old school's architecture program had been nationally recognized. Here, art class focused on basics I'd mastered years ago. When the final bell rang, I rushed out, avoiding the curious stares of classmates. At home, Dad noticed my withdrawn demeanor immediately as I dropped my backpack by the door. "Rough first day?" he asked gently, setting aside the chair leg he'd been carving. "It was fine," I lied, the word hollow even to my own ears. Dad didn't press, but later that evening, he knocked on my bedroom door carrying a small wooden box. Inside lay a set of professional architectural drafting tools, expensive ones I'd only dreamed of owning. "I saved up for these," he said simply. "Thought they might help with your designs." His kindness broke something inside me. "They don't want me, Dad," I finally admitted, voice cracking. I wasn't pretty enough or special enough for their perfect family portrait. Dad sat beside me, his presence steady and grounding. "Then they miss seeing something extraordinary, April. You have a gift for creating spaces where people belong. Don't let their blindness dim your vision of what you can build." His words wrapped around me like a blanket, not immediately healing the wound of rejection but offering something I'd rarely felt in Mom's house, a foundation I could build upon. I wasn't just unwanted baggage to be discarded, I was someone with value, with potential. And maybe that realization was the first true blueprint for rebuilding myself. I woke up one morning, sunlight filtering through the blinds of my small room in Dad's house, and surveyed the architectural sketches pinned to every available surface. Something shifted inside me, a quiet determination that crystallized into resolve. "No one else is going to build my future for me," I whispered, tracing the outline of a sustainable housing complex I'd designed. Dad noticed the change in me immediately. At breakfast, he looked up from his coffee, sawdust still clinging to his flannel shirt from an early morning in the workshop. "There's something different about you today, April. What's brewing in that mind of yours?" I stirred my cereal thoughtfully, organizing my thoughts like I would a blueprint. "I want to make something extraordinary, Dad. I want to create spaces that matter. I don't want to end up stuck designing strip malls or cookie-cutter subdivisions." He nodded, his expression turning serious. "I understand that feeling. So what's your foundation plan?" "That prestigious architectural scholarship, the Harrington Award. I'm going to win it," I declared, the words becoming more real as they left my mouth. "Full ride to the best program in the country." Dad's smile spread slowly, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "If anyone can design their way to that scholarship, it's you, April. Just tell me what materials you need, I'm your supplier in this project." School became my construction site, with long days spent drafting designs and even longer nights researching sustainable materials and innovative structural techniques. My teachers noticed the transformation, even the most demanding ones seemed impressed by my dedication. Mr. Lawson, my physics teacher, asked me to stay after class one afternoon. "April, your understanding of structural forces has improved remarkably. What sparked this architectural renaissance?" "I need that Harrington scholarship," I answered frankly, carefully rolling up my latest building design. "I have blueprints for my future, and they don't include being constrained by limited opportunities." Mr. Lawson studied me thoughtfully, then nodded. "Well, keep building on this foundation. Let me know if you need additional resources or support." Making connections wasn't easy, but I gradually found a small group of classmates who appreciated my focused determination. During lunch, I'd sit with Devin and Maya, two students who weren't part of the popular crowd but had depths most overlooked. "So, April, you've basically moved into the design studio, haven't you?" Devin joked, sliding his lunch tray beside mine. I managed a small smile. "Got to stake my claim on the best drafting table if I want my designs to stand out." Maya adjusted her glasses, her quiet voice earnest. "What you're building toward, it's impressive. Most people our age are just trying to get through the day." Days constructed themselves into months, pressure intensifying as application deadlines approached. Dad was my foundation, always ready with a home-cooked meal and patient ear when the stress threatened to collapse my resolve. The day the Harrington scholarship letter arrived, my hands trembled as I carefully opened the envelope. Dad stood nearby, his breathing suspended. I scanned the words, my pulse hammering against my ribs, and then released a shout of triumph that echoed through the small house. I got it, Dad. I got it. I leapt up, waving the letter like an architectural flag planted at the summit. Dad embraced me, his woodworker's arms solid and secure, laughing with unrestrained joy. I knew it. I knew you'd design your way to the top. As I packed for architecture school months later, I felt a profound readiness. The horizon before me was full of possibility, and for the first time, the blueprint felt truly mine. I was leaving this small house, but carrying its lessons in structural integrity, both architectural and personal, with me. After graduating at the top of my class and establishing my own sustainable design firm, I finally stood on ground I had engineered myself. At 28, I had already won several awards for my eco-conscious designs, and had recently begun seeing Nathan, a brilliant software engineer whose support for my vision never wavered. Then without warning, my phone displayed a number I rarely saw, Mom. We'd barely communicated since my forced departure, but suddenly there she was, with what sounded less like a request and more like a directive. April, Carissa is attending the Design Institute in your city. We've covered her tuition, but we expect you to provide her housing, Mom stated, her tone making it clear this wasn't a negotiation but an assignment of duty. I hesitated, memories of rejection and dismissal flashing through my mind, but some naive part of me hoped for a genuine reconnection. All right, Mom. I'll help Carissa get settled. Maybe we can build a better relationship, I responded, careful to keep any doubt from coloring my voice. Carissa arrived 7 days later, her designer luggage outnumbering mine 3-1. Immediately, the disconnect between us was glaring. She was breathtakingly beautiful, obsessed with appearances and leading a lifestyle that screamed entitlement. Her perfectly manicured nails tapped constantly on her phone as she posted selfies from every corner of my carefully designed home. You'll need to stock organic almond milk and fresh kale. I'm following this celebrity cleanse, Carissa announced her first evening, examining her flawless complexion in my entryway mirror. I'll pick some up tomorrow, I replied, trying to be accommodating despite the commanding tone. Living with Carissa proved far more difficult than I'd expected. She treated my home like a hotel and personal photography studio, hosting impromptu parties until sunrise, her laughter cutting through the walls while I lay awake worrying about client presentations and project deadlines. One evening, Nathan came over as Carissa was preparing for another night out, her crop top and designer jeans clearly selected for maximum impact. I noticed how she touched his arm, how her smile lingered too long. Nathan waited until she left before speaking. April, I think your sister is misinterpreting our interactions. She's been inappropriate. Anger flashed through me. Thank you for telling me. I'll address it with her. When confronted, Carissa merely laughed dismissively. Relax, April. I'm just being social. Is it my fault if he responds to me? Some men prefer natural beauty over whatever your style is. He's my fiancé, Carissa. This is my home. Both deserve respect, I stated firmly. Her smile turned cold. Oh please. I've always gotten exactly what I want. That won't change now. That moment crystallized everything. I couldn't continue living on guard against my own sister. Find somewhere else to stay. This arrangement is over, I told her decisively. Carissa stormed out dramatically. Less than an hour later, my phone rang, Vivian, her voice razor sharp. You're just jealous of her beauty and popularity. Always have been. I only asked for basic respect, I answered, though I knew my words would find no purchase. After that confrontation, communication with Carissa ceased entirely. Through social media I discovered she'd abandoned college, instead navigating her way through exclusive social circles on beauty and charm alone. Meanwhile, I recommitted myself to my architectural practice, my relationship with Nathan, and establishing healthy boundaries in my life. 2 years passed since my last attempt at family reconciliation. My design firm was flourishing with sustainable housing projects, and Nathan and I had moved into a home I'd designed myself. Then news reached me, Carissa was marrying a property developer she'd met at a gallery opening. With genuine goodwill, I called my childhood home to offer congratulations. Vivian answered, her voice instantly cooling the line. Mom, I heard about Carissa's wedding. I wanted to say congratulations, I began, keeping my tone light. Don't waste your breath. You're not welcome at the ceremony. It's an A-list event, and we can't have family embarrassments present. The family disgrace has no place among successful people, she stated icily. My grip tightened around the phone. Is that really necessary, Mom? What did you expect, April? You've always been the disappointing one. Just stay away, she replied before disconnecting. Standing in my award-winning living room design, the dial tone echoing, I felt the familiar sting, but refused to let it undermine what I'd built. Later I discovered they'd spared no expense for Carissa's wedding, celebrity performers, social media influencers, and a venue featured in architectural magazines. Life continued its forward momentum. Nathan proposed in my favorite sustainable garden, and suddenly I was designing our wedding, modest but meaningful in every detail. I called Dad with the news. His joy radiated through the phone. April, that's incredible. I'll absolutely be there, wouldn't miss it for anything, he exclaimed, emotion evident in his voice. Bolstered by his enthusiasm, I made one final attempt with my mother. My heart raced as the phone rang. Mom, I'm getting married. I'd like you to attend, I said simply. Her response came glacial and immediate. No, April. I have no interest in attending some pathetic gathering of losers. Remove me from your guest list. I swallowed the hurt. Understood. Take care, I replied, recognizing this as our final meaningful interaction. Our wedding day unfolded in a small church I'd designed, filled with natural light and sustainable materials. Dad walked me down the aisle, his craftsman's hands steady on mine. The space brimmed with authentic joy and heartfelt well wishes, a stark contrast to the ostentatious emptiness of Carissa's social media wedding spectacle. Nathan and I celebrated among people who valued us for our characters rather than our photogenic qualities. Life progressed beautifully. Nathan and I were expecting our first child, our home office converting to a nursery. Then one ordinary Tuesday afternoon, my phone displayed an unexpected caller, Vivian. Her voice sounded nothing like her usual controlled tone. April, you must let us stay with you. We're in crisis, she demanded without preamble. Mom. What's happened? I asked, though instinct warned me to maintain distance. Everything's collapsed. Garrett's development project failed completely. We mortgaged the house for Carissa's extravagant wedding, and now it's all gone. Her husband's divorcing her after discovering her affair with his business partner. He's demanding compensation, she explained frantically. Taking a measured breath, I asked, what exactly are you requesting? We need immediate housing, all of us. We're coming to your address tomorrow, she stated as if it were already decided. Her presumption stunned me. No, Mom. You can't simply announce you're moving into my home. April, after everything we've provided for you, this is your obligation, she snapped imperiously. Something broke inside me. Provided. You pushed me out because I didn't fit your social media aesthetic. You chose appearances over your daughter, and now expect me to rescue you. Her voice rose sharply. You're being utterly selfish. Where's your sense of family duty? I am your mother. A title you've wielded as a weapon, not a responsibility. Motherhood isn't a collection of debts to be called in, I responded, my architect's precision evident in each word. Her rage transmitted clearly even through the phone. You'll regret this rejection. I could pursue legal action, claim what's rightfully mine. I couldn't suppress a disbelieving laugh. On what grounds? That your daughter won't house you after you discarded her. Elliot was my legal guardian when you removed me from your perfect family portrait. Silence stretched between us as reality settled. This conversation isn't finished, she finally hissed before disconnecting. Life after that final call with Vivian felt liberating, a genuine fresh start. Nathan and I focused on preparing our home for the baby, selecting eco-friendly paints and assembling sustainable furniture while navigating the challenges of pregnancy. One crisp Sunday morning, sunlight streaming through the windows I'd designed specifically for optimal natural lighting, I arranged tiny organic cotton clothes in the bamboo dresser. Nathan worked in the corner, installing shelving with reclaimed wood from Dad's workshop. How's the organizing coming along, April? Nathan paused, setting down his drill and wiping his brow. Almost done, just thinking about everything. It's really happening, I replied, my fingers lingering on a small cotton cap. It is. We're creating something more meaningful than any building, a family, he said, his voice mixing wonder with nervous anticipation. A knock interrupted us. Nathan answered while I continued arranging the nursery. I heard familiar voices, then Nathan called, April, someone's here for you. Entering our open-concept living area, I was delighted to see Dad standing there, his weathered face beaming, holding a beautifully crafted wooden rocking horse. "Surprise visit," he announced. "Dad." I hurried to embrace him, breathing in the comforting scent of sawdust and varnish. "Thought I'd check on my favorite architect and bring something for my grandchild." He presented the rocking horse, its smooth curves and gentle lines evidencing hours of careful craftsmanship. "It's beautiful, Dad. Having you here means everything," I said, emotion catching in my throat. As we settled in the living room, Dad surveyed the half-finished nursery with its sustainable design elements. "You've created a beautiful space for this baby." "We're trying." "It's overwhelming but wonderful," I confided, then hesitated. "Dad, Vivian called recently. It wasn't pleasant." Dad's expression grew serious. "She mentioned it. She wasn't happy with your response." "I had to refuse them, Dad. For our family's well-being, for the home we're building," I explained firmly. The day unfolded with shared memories, Dad offering well-intentioned parenting advice, and peaceful moments of connection. It was the kind of day that embeds itself in memory, a foundation stone for our future. As sunset painted our west-facing windows, designed precisely for this effect, the three of us sat on the sustainably sourced deck. Nathan's arm encircled my shoulders as I leaned into his steadiness. Despite everything with Vivian and all the drama, I feel remarkably fortunate. We have each other. We're designing this new chapter together, and I believe it's going to be our most beautiful creation yet, I reflected, watching light transform the landscape. Nathan kissed my temple gently. "It will be. We've built this together, April." As evening settled and Dad departed with promises to return soon, a profound sense of contentment washed over me. The difficult architectural challenges of my past had ultimately led to this perfectly designed moment, surrounded by authentic love and genuine support. If you found value in this story, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. Your support helps us continue sharing these meaningful narratives.